Bradley, you were medically discharged from the army following a training accident, which left you with partial hearing loss. And then a few days later, you started university to become a chiropractor. What drove you to make the decision so quickly? And how kind of was that transition? Was it something that you were thinking about before?
Yeah, so it literally was a few days later. My last day in the army was a Friday. And then I started uni, a full-time, 4-year master's in chiropractic on the Monday.
Oh my God.
It was not a wise decision. But it's you kind of roll with it, I guess. Because I'm a little bit older, I guess, I'm 33 now, so when that was happening, I would have been 28. I just wanted to get on with what I was doing. So even when I was being told that, I've got hearing loss and it's no longer suitable for service anymore, they still were trying to keep me and were mucking me around a little bit, being like, okay, we can find you a job here. So it was quite tough at the time because I actually didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself to then, because I had one doctor say, you're going to need to find a new career, you're going to have to find something else to do. Was when I started going, okay, well, what the bloody hell am I actually going to do?
Yeah, and actually one thing I wanted to ask was, maybe this is just a stereotype that I personally have, or maybe it's just because I feel like obviously the army is a kind of institution, and you'd been in that. How long were you in the army for?
10 years.
So 10 years, and that must have been such a strange transition to go from something so structured to then suddenly almost kind of not lacking structure, but how was that for you?
I think it wasn't even the lack of structure as much, because essentially I was straight into another organisation, which was uni. So that kind of helped me in a way. But I because I knew that I was going to struggle when I left, I basically just completely flipped my mindset of, I know I'm leaving, so I'm then going to get myself into a civilian mindset.
Yeah.
So I left my room on camp. I didn't live on camp anymore. And then I had a place in Essex where I lived, so I would commute in an hour and 20 every day and back.
Right.
Look, normal people do this, don't they?
Yeah.
They're commuting all the way to London or wherever it is, and so I would just commute out to where I would work, do my day, and just come back home again. Just to try and get myself in the mindset of, I'm just going to a job and I'm coming back home, because that's what it's going to be when I left.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Also, this might be a really stupid question, but I need to know, why can't you stay in the army with the hearing loss?
So I was a helicopter engineer.
Oh.
And for me to then continue to work on helicopters would be a further risk to injury. So essentially, if I was to be around the weapons or be around the aircraft when they're going off, and then my hearing got worse, and they knew that I had bad hearing, then they could be, I don't know, got a little bit more with lawsuit, I guess.
Yeah.
Because obviously they know that they knew that there was a problem.
Right, so it's also a bit to cover themselves.
Their own
Right,
assets,
okay,
yeah. So then they did offer me to stay in the military. So they said, we will find you another job.
Yeah.
But the offers were desk jobs, medically non-deployable, so I was never allowed to go away again. And I was like,
oh my God.
And it was Army HQ, which is in the arse end of nowhere, or just a training establishment as an instructor.
I can imagine for someone like you, who I don't know very well, but can tell already, that would just be such a bad trade-off.
Horrendous, yeah. Already. It's just, it kills your ambition, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the worst thing was that in the last, year and a half, 2 years, I was kind of, ostracized from, the main, squadron, essentially. So I went in, and they were like, cool, Brad, you're going to be crew chief. So you're, in charge of, it's 25 pilots, 10 aircraft, and about 40 engineers. And then you're just coordinating and moving people, moving parts, and just making sure everything kind of runs smoothly. But you're supposed to, as an aviation engineer, you get signatures, and you're supposed to be able to sign things off. But they wouldn't give me my signatures because I wasn't allowed on the hangar floor. So they basically, in the end, were like, right, we just need to put you in an office somewhere. And it was just soul destroying, because they stopped caring about you as much.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh right, I'm just a number. No one gives a shit about me.
Yeah, and that's probably a really hard pill to swallow, especially from, I know you as a person, I can imagine how hard you worked.
Yeah.
And then to suddenly be like, well, maybe I'm no longer of use in that way.
And also, had this 10-year lifestyle of yours been something that you were planning on doing forever? Could you have seen yourself doing that for the rest of your life?
No, I was fully institutionalized, so I was scared to leave. That's the issue, because it was easy in there.
Yeah, really.
When you kind of know what's going on, you have your job.
Yeah.
You would just turn up and do what you needed to do.
So what was a day-to-day for you? Because That's quite interesting for people. Because
Yeah.
some of us
No,
don't know
it's
inside
fine.
the
So essentially,
army.
it is like a normal job at the end of
Yeah.
the day. So essentially, we were the aircraft had to fly. The pilots still had to do their training flights or get their hours in. So because the aircraft had to fly, we would constantly have to maintain and fix the aircraft.
Right.
So it was just like a normal job. Sometimes we'd be doing shift work. Most of the time, the days are like you start at 8:30. You'll have like a break at 10. You'll have lunch at 12 to 1. Have another little break at 3, and then you're done by like 4:30.
Yeah.
That's like a standard day. Wednesday's half day. In the afternoon, you get a sporty.
That's
so
alright,
it's literally
isn't
like uni.
Kind of does sound like school.
Friday, if you're working past midday, you're kicking off.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, get me home, get me on the road, I want to go back home.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good like that, and you'll do series PT on like a Friday morning where
Yeah.
you get the whole like squadron or whatever going out and doing some kind of PT.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I was going to ask about, was one of the nice parts of doing this having like, I don't know, your instant access to relationship, to your friends, to company? Like you were never alone really, I guess, that much.
So this posed one of the problems when I left.
Yeah.
Was because essentially you get, it's like the brotherhood or whatever you want to call it. Essentially you are just around your mates, and you're
Yeah.
people you don't like, people you do like, but you're just around people all the time. And it's, I know I went to uni at 18, so you know when you have like a campus uni.
Yeah.
I went to see my mate once. He went to UEA.
Yeah.
And it was a proper campus uni, and everyone sort of lived in dorms.
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
Oh
Okay,
my
so
God.
in the army, but then you've just got basically a bunch of grown men who are just living in this like confines.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's pretty cool still, because you know you have common areas, whatever it was. People would play PlayStation, or they'd go to the gym, or we would have like different clubs or whatever it was, or we'd go. We'd had we go to the cinema, you get like unlimited like cinema at Cinema or something. So you just like go there on like a Wednesday after sporty and go to Nando's or something. So
It's quite a lot of leisure involved.
it's a lot of leisure. You know what I mean? So my grandpa was. I'm not from a massive military family. My grandpa did World War II. He was in the Navy. He was a naval officer on the Prince of Wales, one of the battleships that sank. He used to say to me continuously, he'd be like, "What are you up to?" And I'd be like, "Right, so I'm playing cricket this Wednesday." And he's like, "Right." And then he's like, "Okay, when are you working next?" And I was like, "Well, that's going to be for a couple of days because we're going to stay up there. We're going to go out for a night out somewhere up there." And he just couldn't. And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to go cycling trip for a couple of weeks here." And he couldn't get it because it's very different.
Yeah.
It sounds very different.
And also, just to kind of go now to the transition between going from the army straight into obviously the new career essentially. Can we talk about fear and kind of around that? Because obviously you've gone from a very, it's clearly structured, you were good at it, and you were, thriving, you were in a position where you felt comfortable. And then how did that then work going into something completely new, completely fresh? Also, I'm guessing, I don't really know much about kind of chiropractors in terms of age ranges, but I'm assuming was there kind of lots of different ages on the degree, or were you younger, older?
When I first started, there were lots of different ages. I was middle of the pack, so that's one thing I was worried about was that I was going to be just old.
Yeah.
But I was middle of the pack. We had, I think the oldest person on the course was about 46, and then there were some other 40s and 30s all the way through. I was 28 when I started, and none of the older people made it through the first year. I was the only one.
Really?
Yeah, so by the end, I was the oldest person on the course. I just couldn't hack it, and obviously they had to work or they had kids or other commitments as well. And it was intense. I had no idea either that chiropractic was going to be as medical as it was. So I guess that was a bit of a challenge, I guess.
Yeah.
But the thing was, moving into it, because I didn't really have much fear.
No.
I saw it, I didn't really see it as much. I just kind of was a bit naive.
Yeah.
I think my naivety and sort of ignorance just kind of took me through. I was like, I need to do something. I'll just do that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the thing I'm going to do. And it was kind of a bit more...
That's interesting, because I was going to ask you what was the driving thing behind you just making such a, I don't know, like, what's the word? Impulsive decision, I guess. But
it wasn't so impulsive because I still had to apply to uni like a year in advance. I knew that I had to pick a new career.
Yeah.
My dream job was to be a fireman.
Oh,
I always wanted
really?
to join the fire service.
Yeah.
Right? So I tried when I was 18. That didn't happen, and then I went to like the military, and I was like, maybe this is my chance, but they wouldn't accept me again because of my hearing. So I looked at the fire service. I think just the uniform, the structure was something that I craved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But when I when I kind of like had to pick something, I didn't really know. It was my ex actually that was really helping me. So she basically was just like, what did you like about your job?
Yeah.
And I was like, right, so I like, going on adventure training, playing loads of sport, like being around the boys, and like, doing all that sort of fun stuff.
That.
Going to the gym, working in the gym. And they were like, what about fixing helicopters? And I was just like, not so much, no. So, and then I was like, right, cool, so we have to pick something else. I was quite lucky. Someone mentioned in passing that there was a scheme, and it's called the Publicly Funded Further Education, Higher Education Scheme. If you're in the military and you don't know about this, find out, because you get a full degree paid for. So my 4-year master's was unsponsored the whole way through.
Wow.
So and it was just mentioned to me in passing. So I looked it up, found it on the internal whatever it's called.
Internet?
Yeah, the internet. Somewhere.
Millennial.
And basically, I was like, all right, sweet. So I can pick any kind of higher education that I wanted. I looked at like business degrees, I looked at engineering degrees, and like project management courses, all this other stuff. And I was like, nothing was just like lighting me up. Even to the point like I always wanted to own a gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I need to do business and stuff. That was the whole thing. I was just like, is that really what I want to do?
Don't do it.
Yeah, we'll get on that later. But when it came down to it, it was just like I looked at like physiotherapy because I knew I liked working with people.
Yeah.
I knew I liked working on my hands and that type of thing. So I looked at physiotherapy. The national wage for that is terrible. So I was like, look, I'm gonna have to support a family and all this type of thing. So I found chiropractic. I was like, didn't know too much about it. I'd seen a chiropractor previously and looked up okay, what's the average wage for that? And they're the highest paid graduate job out of anything in the UK.
Oh.
I was like,
That's
the one I'm gonna pick.
Done.
That's the one, yeah. So that's how I kind of ended up with it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I actually don't know any chiropractors. This is quite interesting because I've never really spoke to somebody about the step-by-step process of how you've ended up where you've ended up, which is always quite fascinating because I think you kind of like quite nosily is probably not a word, but I'm quite nosy and I quite would like to know these things about everybody, like because you see some people end up in some quite odd things.
How the hell did you end up where you
Yeah,
are?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, but why?
And because you obviously said earlier that on your course, a lot of people dropped out, were there moments when you wanted to? And if there were, how close did you get? And how did you change your mindset if you did have those moments?
Yeah, I literally spoke about this earlier to a friend, and it was my 3rd year, and I just had enough. I got to the point where I just wasn't happy. I spoke to the clinic director, and I was like, look, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. At the time, I was working at a chiropractic practice in London as a sports therapist, so I was doing like sports massage, sports therapy, rehab, that type of thing, and I just did not agree with like their model too much.
Yeah.
And they were very, I don't know, there's different types of chiropractors, I guess, and the traditional model is very sort of short appointments, but lots of them.
Yeah.
And then charge lots of money and make lots of money.
Right.
Which is great, obviously, but then all of a sudden you start losing touch with why you're doing it in the first place. So they were doing like 5 or 10 minute appointments.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, you can't actually get to know anything. Like,
Yeah.
because I need to get to know somebody in order to then find out what's driving their pain or injury or whatever it is, because there's lots that goes into it. So I just didn't agree with it that much, and it just I was then just doing it more for the money.
Yeah.
I mean, like, actually, I could earn a good amount of money as a chiropractor here.
Yeah.
But then I stopped liking it. So anyway, I saw him, my clinic director, and he basically sent me to the president of the British Chiropractic Association out in Bristol. We had a clinic there.
Oh, wow.
So I was going to spend a day with him and Tim and Catherine, and they basically just let me shadow them in their clinic, and actually they really liked what they did. So it kind of like reinstilled the faith a little bit more in the profession.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still here.
And I think it's about I think with any career actually, it's really easy to get discouraged when you're surrounded by the wrong people and perhaps in the wrong environment. I think you can probably agree with this in the fitness industry. I feel like this is actually a big problem where a lot of people might go into fitness because they like going to the gym themselves and they like exercise classes in London, but then they do the course and then they realise that actually they've got to deal with real life problems firstly. They have to get up at 5 a.m. every day and work maybe 12-hour days in the gym. And then suddenly it becomes like you get half of the people that drop out after a year because they can't hack the hours, but also because they then probably disagreeing with maybe their ultimate beliefs around helping people, like you said, because I think that's the problem when you're doing like a lot of kind of like in-person work for perhaps like not particularly high fees, that you end up outputting yourself so much.
So we spoke about it before, but it's like, okay, who are the loudest in the industry as well?
Yeah.
And like they are not good for the industry.
Yeah.
Because they create a sort of misillusion of what actually the fitness industry is like.
Yeah.
The consistent 10K months from the beginning, if you just do this, and the online coaching and just the cookie cutter plans and the things that, I don't know, just there's so much stuff in there.
I think so. It's so oversaturated with that kind of content now as well. Also, just for listeners that might not know this, Bradley, you've got a big presence on social media. I was looking, and a lot of content that's quite focused around motivation and like consistency. But I think what I like about your content is that it doesn't feel like a lecture, or not preachy, and also I don't see it and feel inferior to you because of the way that you're putting it out, because I think with a lot of ways that it's put across to people like me who just go to the gym, a few times a week, I don't always like it, I just do it. It's like you need motivation just to be able to do that, and I don't resonate with a lot of the people online because it does come across preachy.
It's performance.
It is, yeah. Well, that's how it feels.
Yeah. I don't know. We spoke about content and doing the social media side of things as well, and it's hard. It really is a hard thing to do because you need to come across authentic to do it as well.
Yeah.
So I've only just started posting on socials.
Have you?
In the last year, like 9 months I think it was. November, so January. Especially as a chiropractor, and just trying to like be consistent doing it. And I haven't been that consistent. It's grown a little bit, but it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And the people that do it is like fair play, but I just don't think that it's.
It's so tough, and we spoke about this before about this comes back to you kind of when you said you struggled kind of on year 3 of your degree. I think it comes back to perhaps sometimes this inward battle that a lot of people have just decided to throw away with social media and be like, I don't care too much about quality, I'm going to focus on quantity. And then it's like we said this, like I'm sure some of your posts where I've had it before where I'll wear a sports bra and leggings and like take a photo, and that's obviously the one that gets most liked, not the one that you spent like an hour planning that's like really educational. And then annoyingly, that's kind of the world we're living in. And it's sometimes like, do you have to give a bit to try and get a back? Do you know what I mean?
It is the sex appeal, but of social media, and it does sell, and that's the most annoying thing.
Yeah.
So I would post rig photos or whatever sometimes over on holiday because you're like, you know what? I'm still proud of what I've done.
Come on.
Let's get that. But at the same time, it's like as I am starting to post a little bit more now, I really am trying to think, what am I posting? Why am I posting? And essentially, do I want to be known for the way that I look, or do I want to be known for the things that I say? And essentially, it's like, I'm not going to not post a picture without my top on for the sake of it, but pretty much the majority of my content, I want it to be me speaking about something that's important either to me or that can help somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that I'd rather be known for that. Because the moment then, if you rely so much on the way that you look, and if your business then runs off that as well, then you're going to then have problems in your head later on if you start losing it a little bit, or as you get older, things are going to have to change. So you might as well just do it now in the right way, or the way that you think's right. Which is fine for some people, but
I like on your social media how you talk about discipline and motivation. I think what I'm interested about is, firstly, have you always been somebody that's just a bit of this is what I want to know, you're a bit of a go-getter, because you seem like you have developed some really good methods now, which I think a lot of people really struggle with, and I just think it's really helpful for people to understand how you manage to maintain any sort of routine and the struggles of it as well.
You mean specifically for the gym?
I think just for life, to be honest.
Well, I'll break it down for you. I think most of the time, fitness is the easiest thing to do, okay, in terms of like personal growth. Because if you want to grow, it's quite easy to just get your standard 3 sessions in, and you will improve your fitness, you'll improve your health. Okay. a lot of time it comes from a place of ego. It comes from a place of competition with yourself, but with other people as well. It comes from a place of lacking self-worth. And this was all me, massively, when I was younger. Body dysmorphia, just constantly looking in the mirror, seeing like a 12-year-old boy, and going, like, it happens for men as well, that's the thing. And I'm like, well, I just need to get bigger. I need to get more jacked because then more people are going to love me. And I'm like, it's all coming from this real toxic place. And I'm like, fuck, this isn't good.
No.
This is not good.
And when did body dysmorphia start, would you say? What age?
Do you know what? It was when I left the army.
Really?
When I left the army, going, because in the army, no one really gives a shit that much about what you look like. They just care that you can keep up with the pack or that you can perform and you can pass the tests, right? So that's the thing. So actually it was more competitive for things like times or whatever it was. We still went to the gym, we still trained. But, or it was like about how hard can we make something, just on purpose.
Yeah.
Whereas like, as soon as I left, I was like, I don't have to run anymore. I can just get as massive and as jacked as possible. So I put on like 16 or 17 kilos, and I was like, that's a lot, but I was lean as well.
Yeah.
So I was like 105 kilos, I looked great. I just moved to London, I was like newly single. I was like, look, this is great.
Lady,
I'm the guy.
I am taking a great photo. And people were like, Brad, you're looking massive, you're looking really jacked, how do you get
Feeding into that, yeah.
And it wasn't making me happy, it was making me worse. So but it was then the negative, like, perpetuating cycle of going, all right, I just need to get bigger and more jacked. Yeah. That's going to solve all of my issues. And obviously it wasn't. And it was at this time when, like, obviously the therapy was like really sort of like going out within my therapy journey. You kind of go through all these types of things of what actually means the most to you and what do you value in yourself and building your self-worth up. And then when I moved to London, I didn't know anybody. I was just training in like a fitness first. I was like, I'll meet people at the gym. Obviously, you don't meet people there. So then I joined CrossFit. And I was like, guess I do CrossFit now. Started doing burpees, started doing box jumps, and my knees were hurting. I was just so unfit. Yeah. So I was like, look, this is not good being this big. I just couldn't do anything. So started doing a bit of weight, got into CrossFit a bit more. I met a load of people and realised actually, again, it was a bit more about what numbers can you hit or how fast can you do this workout or whatever.
Yeah.
So it becomes a little bit more performance based, which it has its own problems still, but I think it's better than just purely aesthetics.
Yeah.
And
I think it also feeds more into that community aspect that fitness is amazing for, and I think why so many people now, I'm so glad, are getting into it. And actually, just on the fitness side, like taking actually fitness away from it, how has kind of the discipline that you've built through fitness, do you feel like that's something that has carried through your, since you started your fitness journey, let's say, through kind of your career, studying, all of those things?
I realised that we'd be on a tangent then.
It's fine.
We always do it.
We're literally the queens of tangents.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So like the discipline element of it, I guess you learn a lot. So I think that's how I started. Was it's easier to just start with the fitness side of things first, the physical.
Yeah.
Because that is how you can build discipline. But that does then translate into your daily life as well. Because then you start turning around saying, okay, cool, can I be disciplined a bit more with my diet and the things that I eat? And then, maybe drinking slightly less because I actually want to go to the gym in the morning, maybe, or is this taking away from my life? Is this taking away from the physical element of it? And I think that's then a really good way of building that discipline. In terms of like, I wouldn't even say that I'm a massively disciplined person, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just something that just gets instilled into you. It's like a standard that you hold yourself to. Yeah. But I'm still like, I hate getting up in the mornings.
Yeah. Yeah, it still doesn't make it easier.
Yeah, I'm still late. I'm still like, do these types of things because of whatever. Like, but that's just me as a person. That's the difference. Yeah. Because everyone's different. You get like type A, type B people.
Well, yeah. What are you?
One of them. I'm on some kind of a spectrum apparently.
So
we all are apparently.
Yeah. I also think that I think you're a perfect example of this about what you asked Bradley about motivation earlier, and I don't know if you agree with this, Brad, but I think motivation is fleeting, and I think a lot of people start their fitness journey hoping that motivation will always be there because it usually it's January
the first
comes.
Few weeks,
January, wherever. Yeah. And I think that's I think sometimes that is the difference. Like you hate getting up in the morning, but you got up this morning and you went to track, for example. Yeah. You hate doing X, but you do it anyway. Yeah. And I think like it's that kind of, that's the difference between, I believe, progress with anything, to be completely honest. It's like forgetting that motivation is always there, but it's only in there like in those fleeting times, and it's the best when you're motivated.
So I love a quote, right? But it's like I'm never gonna remember that. The motivation is gonna be the thing that kind of like when you're feeling good or whatever, but it's the discipline that then keeps you doing it when you really don't want to do it.
That's
So
it.
it's that type of thing there. So actually, motivation, just don't worry about it. 'Cause like you'll either be motivated or you won't, and that's the thing. But that still doesn't negate the fact that you need to do the thing. So essentially, that's where then you can just sack off motivation. If you're motivated, then probably you'll feel a bit better about doing it. If you're not, then you just have to be disciplined in order to get it done. Because then it's the discomfort of not doing it in the moment is going to be worth more than the discomfort later on.
That's right.
It's so true. It's having the foresight, isn't it? To kind of go, actually, if I don't do this,
how will it affect my day, or how will it affect my week if I don't do this,
or my life?
Also, do you feel like because you've mentioned a few things now, you've spoken about you were on your therapy journey, and you spoke about when you were younger and feeling that you experienced those like body dysmorphia. Do you feel like you're able to be disciplined with letting in, I suppose disciplined is the wrong word, but if you feel like you have also got better at not letting those thoughts creep in as you've got older?
It just becomes different thoughts. That's the issue. So it's just
true.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is more about how much can you get to know yourself and what you're about and what are the things that actually mean the most to you. Because for someone who I guess is a very external person, I will look to the external environment always for validation, for the discipline, for motivation. There's all these other things which will sometimes give it to you, but then also will take it away from you. So this is the problem that I suffered with massively, because actually what does Brad want to do? What do I actually really want? Do I really want to do this, or am I doing it for other people? And it's the sort of inward journey which has been the biggest thing. Because then you can actually start going, okay, why am I doing this? What reason am I actually doing this for? Why am I being fit? Is it so I can attract a partner, which is not a bad thing? But at the same time, you're like, actually, will I be fitter and healthier later on in life? Am I focusing on longevity? Am I actually like just doing a bunch of drugs and drinking on the weekend, which actually is, well, if you want to, it's fine. But also, at the same time, like, how much is that going to negatively impact? Can I have fun? But also, but at what point do I take it too far? And then why do I have fun? And it's like, that's the thing that constantly is what I've realised. So things have changed for me because, again, I pretty much will ask me these questions to the little voice in my head. And I have the conversation with myself to be like, actually, why am I doing this?
I think there can be several forms of self-destruction, let's say, and one question I wanted to ask you, not self-destruction necessarily, but we talk about the party and the drugs element of maybe being like going too far there, but just to flip it on its head slightly, is there ever too much personal growth? Like, where's the limit? And like I have fallen to this a lot, where I have been like, I've spoken about this quite a few times, of this kind of like, does it become selfish in the end? Maybe not necessarily to other people, maybe even to yourself, because it's like this self-perpetuating thing of like, must get better. Where's the limit?
I think the better question is, at what point do you become happy with the growth that you've made for yourself?
So true.
Because I guess you're going on the personal growth journey for a reason of self-discovery, or because you don't like who you are as a person, which is fine to admit as well, because actually sometimes we don't know who we are, or we've been through certain things or traumas or whatever it might have been. But it's actually, how happy am I? Do I need to really push this? I think that there's a saying which is, ambition is the killer of happiness. Which, it's like, when I heard that the first time, I was just like, all right, cool, that's puts things in perspective. Because that ambition, the personal growth, right, I'm going to get better and better, and I'm just going to like do more and more, and it becomes that like, well, why? What am I getting from this? And then there is a point at which you will just go backwards.
I think as well that I just think beating the myth of you're always going to like yourself is such a good thing, because I hate the idea that now we have to be 100% comfortable with who we are all the time. I think that's a lie, and it will never be. It's never going to happen. But you should also be, uncomfortable in those periods where you don't, because most people that are like working towards something which they know is not an end goal, it's those times that you really grow as well. Like you fall into it maybe, and then you learn a little bit more about yourself, but it doesn't always mean that you have to love it.
No, but it's the times at which you've had, or the people that have had the biggest upsets in life, the biggest traumas, the biggest like setbacks and falls, are the people that tend to grow the most, because well, you have to have bad stuff happen to you, I guess.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are just kind of content and happy, which again is like, well, that's nice.
Completely agree. And actually, I was going to ask on that. If you're comfortable talking about it, I don't know much about it, but you lost your stepdad. How old were you when you lost your stepdad?
I think it was 10 years ago, so I would have been about 23.
Right, and you were very close to him.
Yeah, he was like my best pal.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those sad things, like just like, well, yeah, I'll tell you about the whole story, but like I've realised now, as sad as it is, for me to be the person I am today, he had to have died. And it's like a chain of events essentially, because he was my support man. He was the guy that was always like there. The guy who was always just cheering me on at the sidelines of football when I was a kid, and like proper sort of parental like father figure.
Yeah.
And at 23, it gets taken away from you.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's bloody tough, isn't it? But it was like that, I'd say that was the worst thing that happened to me. And at that point, it just did change me, and it became a massive point of like discomfort, or I don't know where I stand anymore. I don't know who's looking out for me. So then it becomes that. Well, I did fall into a bit of a spiral first before then having to figure out who I was.
Yeah.
And actually, can I be my own guy? Can I support myself? So I was away. I was on tour in America at the time. We were in the desert, and I just got a run, and my mum called me. I was just like, Ian's died.
Was it just sudden?
He was on a bloody boat in Mexico.
Oh my God.
Went snorkeling. I love snorkeling. We used to go out together all the time when we were younger. And literally, he did the surf, got back on the boat. My mum was there, and they were with friends as well. And mum was like, "You alright?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't think I am." And he just laid down and died.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, it was
That's
super.
shocking.
Yeah.
And like, I think sometimes we're very lucky, touch wood, we have never, either of us, lost anyone close to us in our family. So we haven't actually experienced proper grief yet. And I also, obviously, it's very different to relate in any way, but it must be very difficult when there was no kind of lead up to that. It was a very sudden.
How do you even
like
just process that?
And that's the thing, is that until something like that happens, you can't prepare yourself for it.
No.
You just need to, I don't know, I guess take as much advice from other people that have maybe been in a similar situation to you. Give yourself as much space as possible as well, and understanding for where you are, and try and go through the grieving process.
Yeah.
So you can do that on your own. You can do it with other people. You can do it as a group. You can do it with therapy. It's something that I didn't do.
Yeah.
So it did have a bit of a lasting impact, and that's the problem.
What was your initial response, in not just like, not on the day, but I mean in terms of after that, the next few months? What do they look like for you?
So my mum went man down. She was just not in a good place, because he was the guy.
Yeah.
He was like that. So he basically took care of everything. And all of a sudden, like my mum's whole world was just like stripped away, and I ended up like, I stayed at home for quite a bit, so I had time off from the army, like looking after her and whatever it was, and then eventually they were like, "You're gonna have to come back and work again because we're still paying you," and I was like, "Yeah, that's very fair." So I was like, "Cool." I just had to get back into it, but I was quite lucky because I was able to throw myself into life, which was actually one of the time, but it was shortly after when my hearing went, because it was one of the exercises that I went on. So after it happened and I went back to work, I was like, just send me away as much as you can. So I was going from like place to place. I was like America, then I was like on a ship somewhere, then I was in Kenya, then I was like skiing, and then I was on these exercises or whatever, when the hearing thing happened. And it was like a year of me just saying I actually need to get out as much as I can. But it also got to the point where it's like, my mum was like calling me up, being like, "I can't go on living anymore, and I need to end it." And it's like, cool, I have to deal with that, and it's tough. It's tough.
And the pressure of that as well. And also, do you have any siblings? I don't know.
Yeah, I've got an older brother and older sister.
Fine.
But you always find that it's one sibling that would take the responsibility at a time, and until that sibling then steps back, then another one would then have to step in.
Yeah.
So essentially, my brother and sister, like, they were like, "Okay, cool, well, Brad's looking after mum, that's fine, we'll just sort of get on with it."
Yeah.
But then since I've stepped back and other people have stepped in or whatever, my mum's fine now, she's met someone new, and she's like, he's like great as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
And he'd also been through his own shit, so they met on like a widow's website.
Oh,
which was lovely.
That's actually because you
It was
really
lovely.
need to be able to understand that
Yeah.
part of a relationship if you are going to be with someone that's lost someone really close to them.
Yeah, because you need to be able to relate, don't you?
Yeah, I think you do. I think it's one of those things that must be so incredibly hard because it's such a huge part of your life, and if you can't connect with someone on that level, that must be really, really tough.
I actually never really dealt with the grief that
Right.
much, and essentially, because it's like a big story here, so we can kind of go on story time.
Yeah.
A little bit. But so the hearing thing obviously then just took over. It was like that was well, actually no, to 2016 when it happened, I managed just to crack on with my life with the army, just avoiding like having a hearing test. So for 2 years I managed to avoid having a hearing test, and it wasn't until I started boxing in the army in 2018, had a medical, and they were like, oh, you need to do a hearing test, and I was like,
shit.
so then I did the hearing test, and they were like, oh, you're deaf, and I was like, yeah.
No shit.
I was like, oh, no. Anyway, so they cleared me to box, did the boxing, just carried on with the work that I was doing, and then a year later, had to renew my boxing medical. And in the meantime, the doctor sent me for a load more hearing tests, where essentially they like hook your brain up, and they play the sounds in your ear, so you don't press the button anymore if you've ever had a hearing test.
Yeah.
And now it's just they will just pick up your brain waves of the sounds being played in your ear. So afterwards, after like an hour and a half of this test, they were just like, all right, yeah, cool, you're not blagging us, you actually have got hearing loss. And I was like, fine. Went back, tried to get my medical renewed, and then the doc was like, this is not good. We can't keep this. This is a bad level to be in. And I was like, and that's when my whole world just like started falling away. So this kind of went from like not actually dealing with the grief of this, and then it was like dealing with the grief of losing my bloody career. So I was like, oh my god, this is big. So obviously we've been through that, and then on the chiro stuff and left, and it was my first year of uni was COVID, right? So I was at home. I was living with my ex in Essex, and I was just doing my lectures online. Had a few lectures there, and I'd be like going out, go for my running. I go when the pool's open, I started swimming again. But it was at this time that like I started going. I was like, for the last few years before, I just going more and more into like a depression.
Yeah.
And I was getting more and more numb, and I was getting more and more angry and frustrated. I didn't know what was going on, and it wasn't until I was swimming in a swimming pool once, and I remember just getting in. And then the next thing I remember is the lifeguard just blowing the whistle, being like, hours up. And I just didn't stop swimming.
And you just were swimming.
And in my head, I was writing a suicide note. And I was just like, how am I going to do it? Because I was just like, but it wasn't until like I kind of got out and I sat on the edge of the pool and I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. And I knew it was getting bad, but I was just avoiding things. And like, people were like, oh, you're taking antidepressants and all this. I was like, no, it's fine, whatever, I'm good. I'll figure it out. But I knew something was wrong anyway. So this was the moment when I was like, I need to start therapy, I need to go and speak to someone, I need to get help. I found a guy and ended up, I still see the same guy now.
Oh wow.
And he's helped me, his name's Tom, big shout
out to Tom.
And that's amazing to find someone, because I think we spoke about this before about finding a therapist or finding a way. It doesn't always necessarily need to be therapy or any kind of traditional therapy, it could be something else. But I think it's like a relationship, isn't it? As in, it's finding the right person for you. And I think it's actually really difficult to find a therapist sometimes that you really gel with.
Yeah.
And actually, just on mental health and therapy, and I want to talk about men's mental health specifically, because I think, firstly, thanks for sharing that. That's big. Yeah. And I think that, firstly, is very brave to admit that it got to that point, because I think a lot of people wouldn't admit that, because I think that thought has got to be, I think, top 3 scariest thoughts to ever have. And to get to that point, obviously you must have been in a really, really challenging place. But I also want to kind of know about how you felt around, and maybe I'm just putting words in your mouth, but being a man, especially of our generation, I think it's got so much better. But I do think even when we were younger, did you ever feel that there was this kind of...
I think it's got better.
Yeah.
But I also still think that there is a problem, because
a massive problem.
Because the numbers are still going up.
Yeah.
So then you've got to ask the question why, and I think okay, so for me it was like, never had any experiences with suicide or whatever. I had 3 soldiers in my command kill themselves when I was as a platoon sergeant.
Wow.
So the first one just didn't show up to parade. like, cool, okay, where is he? Just call his number, going through that whole process, and police involved, like, cool, found the body, cool, first one.
Oh my God.
And it was like maybe 3 weeks later, another one. And then it was someone else on his course who I actually served with abroad, and he went back to unit and then also did the same thing. And I was like, right, I think the issue is that the more it gets spoken about, the more people have problems, and like, that's a solution.
That seems like a solution.
And I think that's then a problem in itself. So it's like, okay, well, what do we do about that? And it's like, do we continue to keep speaking about it more, or do we then, I don't know.
That's a really interesting point, actually.
I am not afraid to talk about it that much, and the more and more I've spoken about it over the years, the more I've found that it's been such a positive experience. So much so, one story, went on a surf retreat in Morocco.
Yeah.
German guy, we had a few beers, and he sort of opened up to me, and he basically was saying all these problems, whatever it was, and I basically spoke to him, told him my whole story. And 6 months later, he messaged me and was like, I've started therapy, I've never been in a better position, my relationship's great, everything's great, my work's great. And that was all because of just having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
One conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think it makes people feel less lonely, and it makes their thoughts in their head seem acceptable, because it's the reality that I've said this before, that we're, you know, I think you sometimes think that it's just you feeling all of these things.
Yeah.
It is very isolating. It is very
It
isolating.
feels like it is.
But men are just shit at communicating. Like we are. Like I've gotten so much better, but I'm still not very good.
Yeah.
And I really do try. And Cara's like, yeah, I know you try.
But you're not
But
taught.
you still need to be a little.
You're not taught it though, and I think
But then
like
what are men taught?
well, I think men are taught lots of things that also women aren't taught as well. So I think we're taught very different things, and this is, you know, from when we're much younger. But one thing that we were always taught to do was to talk, to gossip, to communicate. And what we spent a lot of our time doing growing up as girls was chit-chatting, not always in a nice way, trust me. Sometimes it was a bit bitchy and horrible, but we were always talking. That's just not something that men were taught to do, I don't believe, at school. Also, it's even comes down to small things, like I don't feel like there was as much pressure, you know, when we were younger for boys in school to speak up as much as there was for women, or to be the polite, nice ones, and to smart. And I think that's really evident now when you see, and obviously the generation before us, I know our parents' generation also are not great at talking, and the generation above.
Yeah.
But still, it's shocking now in a time where mental health is such a topic of conversation, and you can communicate in endless ways now, literally, and it's shocking that it's still a massive issue.
And I also think, just to go back to your stepdad as well, because even the way you spoke about him was, and this is how we feel, we're lucky enough to have our dad still, and he was a, you know, very close relationship with him, but he was the prominent kind of breadwinner of our family. You know, as we've got older, you start to realise that your parents are just real people. But when you're younger especially, they are just on these pedestals. And we had a very traditional upbringing where our parents are still together, our mum was mostly at home looking after us, and our dad went to work and came back at 8 o'clock every night, and he was seemingly, you know, doing it for us. And that's actually something that is said quite a lot when you're younger, you know, like, shush, like, I'm working hard, I'm doing this, and you know, that's no fault of anyone's own, but I do think there's this incredible pressure, especially of our parents' generation, for the man to be like, can't say, I'm, you know, it's all on me.
So I think that there's like 2 points that you touched on here, which was, as a young man or as a teenager, as a boy, you don't have much pressure. You just can, you know, be a boy, dick about, have fun, because actually you don't really have anything going on there. So you're not taught, because you don't actually have any stresses or problems.
Yeah.
Women generally will obviously be a bit more vocal, gossip and stuff, and that's kind of, I don't know, male and female. The issue is that obviously as men get older, they get more and more pressure put on top of themselves. They do it to themselves as well, but society is just like, okay, well, you're going to need a good job because you're going to need to take care of the family, and exactly like you said, them and the dad. I think the problem now becomes is that guys don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because now women are becoming like, successful and earning money, and like, what's the purpose of the man?
Yeah, but men are lost.
Men are lost.
No.
And I think,
especially young men.
So
Because
true.
Essentially, again, like, what does a young woman want? They don't want a young, immature man who can't communicate and is a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah, you're so
They
right.
want an older man who's got his shit together, who's a bit more emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
So you've got this subsection of boys, teenagers, men in this younger era that are just getting more and more left behind, which is then creating more and more problems.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the biggest conversation topics that came out of Adolescence, the show. I think it was this idea, you're so right, that I think even in schools now, I think that like girls, it previously maybe was even a bit more balanced, but actually it's becoming less and less balanced and you're quite right, like women now obviously are in great jobs and they're focusing on their careers. Also, people are having kids later, so I think there's less of that pressure to have your shit together earlier. Like my parents had me when they were 21, 22. So fuck that.
That's
like
so wild.
It's crazy to think
you've got to have by that stage. Obviously, it was a little bit easier to maybe buy a house at that point, but still, you've got to have your shit together.
Yeah, but I also think that as well, and again, this all comes down to social media as well. It's like men are fed some really strange now representations of what masculinity looks like, and I think they're maybe seeing some, and it's like, this is what being a man is, and they're like, oh, I don't really like that seems horrible, and I'm not going to say anything, but I'm sure we all know what those things are. And then they're seeing another side, which maybe is like a side that they also don't resonate with, and they're like, I don't know where I fit into this, because maybe I want to be someone who is masculine and proud to be a man, but maybe I don't like that weird sort of representation of it. So I can see how that's hard. And I don't know, do you feel like that's a point for you that you want to be influencing, or you want to have some sort of like...
I love the way that I look now. I had a problem with it because you see a big bald guy with tattoos and it's a bit like, okay, not great. This is the avatar that I'm in. This is what it is now. I love being super vulnerable and telling my story and opening up as well.
Yeah.
And I fight, as in like I will do boxing or jiu-jitsu or some kind of combat sports, and someone said like hard to kill, for example. It's the being able to be aggressive but really be under control. For me, that's what I think being a man is actually still being masculine, still being a man, still being a protector, a provider. But at the same time, it's like you can still be a big softie.
Yeah.
And you can still have a laugh, and you can still get to know yourself inside out, and be vulnerable and put yourself out there. Like for me, that's the pinnacle of being a guy, I guess. We obviously spoke about.
And that's for you. That's how you individually. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but we spoke about like my stepdad, for example, and it's like there's as much as like he was a great guy. There's loads of stuff now that I don't want to be like he was fully, because like. He wasn't very open. He took all of the stress and everything on his shoulders, and like as much as like I respect that, I'm like, I don't think that was very good either. Like he didn't teach me as much as I wanted him to teach me. And it's like, actually I wish that I'd been sort of taught slightly different things, or taught how to be a bit more emotional, or taught how to communicate a little bit better, because he's just going to solve so many more problems a lot earlier. And rather than me having to butcher around trying to figure it out, I'm like trying to just how to be a man in society, I guess. But then he was the older generation as well, so that's just the way that he was.
Exactly.
So it's like it's a problem now, is because men just don't know where they stand and they don't know how to be. So I think that there needs to be just more good male role models.
I agree, and I think there is. I'm seeing more now, which is really nice to see.
I think there is, and I also think, I really don't like this word, but I do think, because of the world we're in now, where the word woke is used a lot, and I just want to say, I think sometimes, I don't know how, I'm just saying this because I don't know how you feel as a man, but I often think that it's also must be quite difficult to know how to act sometimes, because of the fear of upsetting or stepping over a line. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean. I think
what I mean is maybe woke wasn't the right word.
I understand. I think because the line for men now of like what you should and shouldn't do is, I think they're confused. Should I still act like a gentleman?
Yeah, should I open the door for someone?
Yeah, exactly. I think that confuses men, because also that's unfortunately the message has got really blurred for men, I think. And now they're like, well, they don't want me to do that and I shouldn't do that. Yeah. It must be confusing, I guess.
And then the older generation say you're woke for saying it, and the younger generation say don't touch me.
But the thing is it's like the where do you learn from? That's the thing. And this is like, for me, I was still brought up to be chivalrous and to like open doors for women, but to be, I don't know, protective or to do whatever else. Cars are open. So I'm still going to do that because I think that that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But I'm 33, so maybe that's just their mind. But I still teach my kids that because I still think that that's a good thing. How to like speak to a woman properly. Like don't be an arsehole, essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Essentially, there's so many mixed messages now. As you say, it's like, I don't know, we don't get taught what is the right thing.
Yeah, and I also think in the age of social media as well, there's so many amazing male role models, but there's equally many not so great.
Yeah.
And I also think maybe, like, put yourself in a young Bradley's shoes, for example, that didn't have access to all of the things that young men now have access to. And then let's like flip it in its head and let's say in 10 years time you've got a son, or 15 years time you've got a son. It's now getting harder and harder to try and filter like who these motivators are and who these people influencing young boys are as well.
Again, this is the big pressure of parents coming through
Yeah,
now. It's because
so
they're
much.
Like, okay, well, how do we not fuck up our child?
Yeah.
Because it's like, at the end of the day, your parents are your parents. They did their absolute best with what they had, but they'd probably fuck you up in one way.
We were saying this
Like,
the other day.
literally, it's like you can't get away from it, and you can't blame them because again, well, I mean, I don't know, it depends how shitty whatever they did, but
Yeah.
for the most of the time, they did the best that they could.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of accept that, and I guess that's all you can do is just learn from them and from their mistakes and the way they brought you up and say, actually, did I like the way that they did that or not? And I'm going to do this differently with my kids or whatever it is.
Yeah, completely agree.
God, it must be tough now coming into the world.
It's going to get
kids.
worse and worse. Isn't
Yeah, it's hard. But then I guess also like, I don't know, I was listening to a podcast yesterday that was talking about AI, and they were saying like it's either going to destroy the world or solve the world, and I was like, don't know, so terrifying.
But also just on men's mental health, and as like we were talking about kind of the journey that you've been on with your own mental health, where you are now, what would you say kind of top 5, it doesn't even need to be 5, what would you say your most important tools in your mental toolbox for kind of maintaining, not, you know, you're gonna not waking up every day jumping out of bed being like I'm perfect, but what would you say if you are having firstly those days when you're like feeling a bit down or feeling yourself spiraling maybe, how do you manage it?
Like, I still think that I have struggles like all the time. That's the thing. And I'm not. I don't know. Do we even get to a finished product? I don't know. But like, okay, I've changed a hell of a lot. But I still have down days. My go-to, as much as it is difficult, is just to talk to somebody and communicate. So if you have a good relationship, then talk to your partner if that allows. I also think that comes with its own struggles as well. I think you do need a good support network of guys as well to be able to speak to and communicate. Because half the time, they might just turn around and say, shut the fuck up, mate, you're actually fine, don't worry about it, let this all blow over in a week. And sometimes you just need a little bit of reassurance there. Another thing for me is, as I've taken on more and I'm sort of, building businesses, going that way and trying to like make my way in the world, I get anxious. And that was a weird feeling that I've only started, that I actually even knew what it was in the last, 3 years, 4 years. And it's that sort of panicky feeling that you get kind of in here. And breath work.
Yeah.
Massively. Okay, so actually just, even just 10 deep breaths, but I will try and do like, if I'm getting to that point, I'll do like a 5-minute breath work meditation track.
Yeah.
And it will just calm me down and I'll go back in there. Journaling.
Yeah.
I'm not a great writer. I journal on my phone and that's absolutely fine as well.
With your journaling, do you ask yourself kind of daily questions, or are you a journaler where you're just like word vomit, say what you're thinking?
Word vomit, say what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And within that, I will ask myself questions.
Yeah.
And then I will just try and answer them.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask another question to that, and then I'll do that. And pretty much you'll kind of get to a point where like, all right, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you can move on, or you can then just try and say, okay, what are we going to do from here?
Yeah.
And that's when then you start putting in your tools. Gratitude practice as well.
Yeah.
Terrible with this one. It's something that I speak to my mates, speak to other people about. Like, how do you actually do it?
It's so hard.
I can't do it.
Because I think sometimes you have to go deeper than like I'm grateful for, and it's really
I hate
hard.
that, but it's like, if I'm not going to do it for surface level.
No.
I
I'm
agree.
going to do it for surface level. Like, I'm healthy and happy.
Yeah. I really struggle with it.
So, but then it's like sometimes when I am feeling bad, I go, okay, I'll just take myself on a walk. Physical is the easiest thing to do. And then I'll start walking around like the park or something, or I'll see the London skyline and I'll be like, fuck, I am actually really lucky that I live in London and I've completely turned my life around and I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, cool. Is this actually really hard what I'm doing?
Yeah.
No, it's not. There's so much more other stuff. I've been through so much more.
Yeah.
Like harder things. So again, okay, I'm grateful for this is something that will just pass.
Yeah.
It's like what that this too shall
This
pass.
too shall
Whatever
pass.
it is.
Yeah.
And it's like I just keep saying that.
It's so true.
It's so difficult though, isn't it? Because remembering that you've made it through so much when you're going through a hard time. We were talking last week about life's minor dramas. Like, why can you kind of put this practice into place when something terrible goes wrong, but then you like stub your toe and everything goes out the window, you drop your keys on the way out, and then suddenly you're having the worst day ever, and it's like,
and it spirals.
The spiraling is
The spiral,
yeah.
So in those instances, the small ones, I learned this from Jocko Willink, who's like this Navy SEALs guy. He's like pretty cool, but he always turns around and when something like that happens, he's like, good. And the whole thing is you basically, on these things, you say, good. It's like, the universe is testing me. Like, this is going to be good.
Okay.
And I will do it. When like, shit's hitting the fan, it's kind of like, all right, we actually are in panic mode. Let's just do what we can to kind of keep it salvageable. But it's the little things, when little things keep going wrong, you just have to smile to yourself and be like,
that's actually quite good advice.
and it is quite good. And then you can kind of start to like smile a little bit and be like, okay, it's just getting funny now. Then the next thing will happen, you'll be like, this is just taking the piss. But good, how am I going to not wreck my day? How am I going to salvage my day now?
Yeah.
And then you can start to put these things into practice. You can then just be like, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Carry on.
That's a great way of
Kind of
dealing
like
with
coming
it.
into a secret club of just like laughing at all those little things.
It is. It's like toxic positivity, but it's actually useful. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I haven't heard that one before, so that's actually really helpful.
Good.
Well, are you ready to move on to the dilemma point? Because we've been talking for quite a while.
Hello, Two Tabs Open podcast. What's your dilemma?
Just a quick dilemma that's been sent in by a listener. And for you, it says, I've made changes to my life. I've started exercising and doing things like eating better. It's really had a positive impact on me. My partner isn't on the same wavelength as me at the moment. I'm really struggling to get him motivated to join me, especially as I can see how much it could really help him. Do you have any advice on how to approach this? It's quite a hard one.
Well, it's just trying to find out why he doesn't have the interest, I think, and actually understanding why. Because he might have a relatively good reason. He might be just super secure and happy with himself, and it might become a different way. But it depends on where he's at. If he's super unhealthy, then it becomes a point of saying, like, you're going to need to look after yourself because it's if it's going to get worse or whatever it is. I don't think you can ever force somebody else to have the same interests as you or to do something that they don't want to do. They're never going to do it.
Never.
They're never going to do it.
It's got to be on their terms.
Yeah.
And it's like, when it comes to like health and fitness, it is tough because you can't force motivation. You can't force somebody to enjoy something.
No.
It's really difficult.
I
It's
think
really hard.
I've listened to something recently about this, about mirroring, like a mirroring technique anyway. And I think often in these scenarios, if you really, like Bradley said, you're never ever going to physically change someone until they want to change themselves. But what you can do is you can carry on doing what you're doing, and maybe you can even be a bit more dramatic about it and be like, oh God, I'm just feeling so good.
Look how good I
like, and actually, he'll in turn start to see the benefits from you.
Or he'll get shit scared because his missus is
Yeah.
hotter and he's like, I can't really do this.
Yeah.
I say this all the time, like my missus is like 10 out of 10, so I'm like, I need to go to the gym, otherwise I get fat, she's gonna leave me.
Yeah, exactly. I think this works. I actually kind of had this with my husband, as in not me being hotter than him, more me exercising. I actually for years tried to get Sam to exercise. Like, he's a very sporty person. He won't mind me saying. He literally never went to the gym ever, and I think I got bored of like suggesting us to go to classes together or to do something, and in the end, I think actually it just came down to the fact that firstly, I was spending so much time at the gym. He was like, well, I might as well just join her. And I think secondly, maybe seeing the benefits of, like you said earlier, like I stopped going out every Friday and Saturday night, drinking a lot and like to oblivion, and then being like, actually, I want to go to a class tomorrow morning, or like, I want to go for a walk, or getting a dog was a great move, to be honest. Yeah. And I think, you can't change someone, but I think once they see the benefits, it really does help.
No, I completely
Especially,
agree.
we were saying earlier, it's like, when you start changing your habits,
Yeah.
then it's like the two lifestyles aren't going to be
Yeah,
compatible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
and then
true.
Hopefully, they'll see the light that just being a bit fitter, being a bit healthier.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, maybe he's not the right guy.
Yeah, good
We did
advice.
shout there.
We always throw in a curveball.
exactly.
Bradley, do you have any ins and your outs for this week? Something that you are bringing in, or something that you're really liking, and something that you want to chuck out, something that should be out of your week or your life? Do you want me to do mine so you know what kind of wavelength we're on? Okay, my ins this week is porridge, because porridge season is back and I'm so happy about it because I'm obsessed with porridge, but only in the winter for me personally. And my outs is unrealistic end of year pressure. I just think as the end of year approaches, I don't want to put any pressure on myself for what I should be achieving, what I should be achieving for next year. I'm just going to let it flow into 2026.
They're good.
I like it. Should I do mine?
Yeah, do yours.
Mine are very boring and not as philosophical as yours. My in, this is ridiculous. I can't believe we've never spoken about this before, but it's not an in because it's been in my whole life, but it's my obsession with gherkins. Like, I love them so much.
I was going to say pickles this week, but I'm glad.
And you actually went to a pickle restaurant, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
I remember what it's called
People
now.
have actually commented, because sometimes I put photos of my lunch or my dinner up on Instagram, and people are like, are you okay? Like, you seem to have an addiction to pickles. And then my out is equally shit, and it's still water. I will never like it. I don't like
Agreed.
it. I like squash and I like sparkling water, but I hate still water.
Oh, wow.
I don't like it either.
Sparkling water now.
Oh, I
Oh,
love.
is that your out?
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, that is. It's just like static. It's what's the point?
I know. I think that about still water.
I agree. I think still water is so boring. I'm so sorry.
Ins is, well, if we're going for food, roast season.
Oh,
Yes.
it's such a good one.
It's honestly, it's like, I don't know how many roasts I've had so far. I had one on Sunday, I had one on Sunday before, and I've literally got them booked in for the next like 3 Sundays. I just love a roast dinner.
Until April next year.
Yeah.
And then what's out? Training alone.
Yes.
So I
can't do
changed
it.
my training up, and I enjoy it so much more now because I just will only train with other people. And I did it for, I don't know, 3 months. And I'd only gym or I'd only train if I was with other people. And I did one the other day, and it's just because I had to get it done because I hadn't trained in ages because no one was training. So I was like, I'll do it on my own. And there was a guy next to me, and I ended up just chatting to him the whole time.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just don't like this at all.
Yeah.
So my biggest motivation for training at the moment is social. I love being social, and it's a really good way that I can be social with people. So whether that's run clubs, track clubs, gym classes, I don't care. I went to bodybuilding gym today. I'll do CrossFit on another day.
Yeah.
I just want to train with other people because
That's good
actually I
advice.
use that as social.
Yeah.
So training on my own is out because it's boring.
I love that. I completely
That's
agree.
Really good one.
That was
really
brilliant.
good.
Worth the wait there.
That was a really good episode.
That was. Thank you so much for sharing, Bradley.
No, it was really good. Yeah,
Honestly, it was so nice to chat to you. I feel like there's so much more we could chat about, so maybe we'll have to get you back on.
Yeah, when you're big, episode 2, don't forget us.
Yeah, you're coming back when you're famous.
And actually, lastly, where can people find you if they actually want to find out a little bit more about you? Is it Instagram or
Yeah,
website?
so mainly Instagram, Dr. Cairo on socials is my handle. I pretty much just do Instagram because I'm 33.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
So TikTok.
Yeah.
I
I've
think
tried
TikTok
that.
is out.
It's out.
Yeah.
It's out.
Yeah, TikTok's out.
Yeah, and from there I've got links and you can find, I write articles as well. I've got a Substack and a little bit on LinkedIn.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Thank
Well,
you so much.
We'll tag you as well so everyone can find him as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.
Bye.